Alright guys, so welcome back to another day of 2020 where I look like crap almost every day. Time to get busy on the intercooler piping for this car. It doesn't have any right now, so I do have to go ahead and get that so I can start making some turbo noises for you guys. So as y'all may have seen on the last video, I did have to remove all the piping, so there's nothing here. The intercooler is just probably got a coupler on one side and that's it. So I am gonna do things a little bit different. I'm not gonna be running the piping like everyone else does. The way the piping was ran before, I had a 90-degree here, it went over and straight down then into the intercooler. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna run a pipe straight down, and it's gonna go just right under the sway bar and obviously into the intercooler. That's easy. Now this side, sometimes going against what people tell you, it's okay, because I know a lot of people probably be like, oh, don't do that, or don't cut a hole into your car, whatever, man. It's just it's a car. I mean, it's probably gonna be here longer than you'll be here. I mean, you never know. So majority of the people, they run the pipe from here straight down, so they go down and then across into the intercooler. But the reason I'm not going to do that is because I do have future plans for this car to where I'm going to change this intake manifold. For example, on the Hypertune intake manifolds, the throttle body is over here, so there's no way you're going to run a pipe here, so you end up cutting a hole here and you run the pipe down here. Obviously right now I could run it down there. I'll just have to bend some of the AC lines out of the way. But since I know what I'm going to do in the future with this car, I'm gonna do something different, and I think aesthetically it'll probably look pretty nice. So what I'm gonna do is run a pipe from here and straight down in here. So it's gonna be maybe like a 90, and it's gonna go down, and then another 90 is gonna go down here, straight over here, and straight into the intercooler. So just like this, and then up here. I think it'll look pretty good, especially considering that the turbo intake kind of goes like this. So there's a pipe coming here, and then this pipe will be over here. So I don't know, I'm real weird about that. I don't know if that's like OCD or I don't know. I like things to be somewhat even. Call me crazy, whatever, that's just the way I am. All right guys, so obviously I'm gonna have to do some sort of 90 to where it goes out like that and then straight down. But before I even consider cutting anything, let's do inventory. Let's see everything that I have here, because I want to make sure I don't end up cutting a pipe and then I find out that I probably had something in this box that was already cut. So I'm gonna sort everything out and see what I have. Unfortunately, it's not as much as I expected, but if you get creative, you should be able to make this work. All this stuff here is 2.5-inch piping, so we will move that out of the way, and this is what we got to work with. This is 3-inch. I'm doing all 3-inch, everything. So we have a couple 90s. We got 3 45s, 2 U's, and 2 straights. I think that should be more than enough, as long as you get creative, like I said. So we'll do one here, right? And then I'll be needing obviously another 90 or maybe a 45, depending if I go straight like this, it'll need a 90 going down. But I can make it to where it's sort of slanted down, and from there I could use like this shorty, this 45 here. I could probably just use this one here. Let me see if I can put the GoPro somewhere so you guys can see it. Give me a sec. All right guys, so let me take this plastic apart so I can give you guys a better idea of what I'm trying to do. Like I said, just work with what you have. I mean, obviously if you want to buy a bunch of piping and get every single bend, you know, that you need, that's fine. But if you're trying to save money, try to just get creative. Like let's say this is attached to the intercooler side, I'll cut it here and twist it. But obviously it's gonna be like this, and it may or may not be far enough to reach this side. But worst case scenario, I could just cut it here, lift this one up, and then put like a little 2 or 3 inch piece of straight pipe, which is probably something that I'll have left over from one of these. Make it to where it's longer, so I'll have it long here. It goes straight up and into this one. So literally with these 3 pipes here, I can make this side of the intercooler, and then I would still have all of this left over for that side. I'm not an expert, you guys. This is me just, you know, putting degrees together and trying to put pieces together. I don't have like much fabrication experience. I've done some stuff on the Eclipse, but I'm just trying to teach you guys how to do something, do it yourself at home. I'm not an expert, so learn what you can, and feel free to correct me if you see something I could have done better. But this is not what you want to use. Even if you do use this, I mean, more than likely you're gonna get like contamination from that onto the aluminum piping. But you gotta work with what you have, right? If you do end up doing this, when it comes down to welding, clean your pipe. Where you're gonna weld, you have to have that super clean. But just want to throw that out there in case you guys, some of y'all are gonna tell me. I know, trust me, this is not the best thing, but what are you gonna do? So with that being said, I did cut this pipe out, and one of the things that you want to do is get yourself one of these tools here. This is what you would use to, I'm not sure what they call this, like a deburr tool, but basically you run this along the inside. You see all that stuff? You use it to cut everything out, and then use it to cut out the outside too. And just run it through it like that. Alright, just a few passes with that tool. See, it's a lot cleaner. You could run your finger and it's not going to cut you. So we take this and we try it out, put it in here. There we go. One thing I'll tell y'all is make sure you cut too little instead of cutting too much. It's always fine if you cut too little, because then you could just cut a little bit more and a little bit more. But if you cut too much, then you're screwed, because then there's no going back. Don't cut a hole in your Supra. Alright boys, and just like that, see, you cut a hole, then you get yourself a little vacuum line, get yourself a razor like this one right here. Oh, I can't reduce that. Get yourself a little razor and just slide it in, and you just wrap it around the hole. So then you have your pipe, and you can stick it in like that, and it ain't gonna be hitting metal to metal. It'll be protected. Pretty cool, huh? Man, just something funny real quick. So I sprayed some of that the off spray on my arms, my legs. Guess where they bit me? On my freaking ear. All right boys, check this out. So I did have to cut the bead roll edge off of this pipe, but this is going to be one of the welds here. As you can tell, they made up perfectly. All right boys, so I ran into another issue. I was trying to move the intercooler forward, so basically bring it forward a little bit so I can have the final fitment and how to run the pipes. And well, this tab right here, there was a tab right there, it was hitting my AC line, so I couldn't move it forward, so I had to cut it off. All right, so it's the next day. I just got out of work, and well, time to get busy again. So I got the intercooler put back into the car. I got that little piece here cut off, so now it doesn't hit the AC line. I ended up using one of these 90-degree couplers. I wanted just to use a straight one and then have it just for this to be pipe, but it's probably going to be more trouble for what it's worth. So I use this 90-degree coupler, and then I'm going to have a straight here, and then I just need to get it to where it connects here. So this is where this U-bend comes into play. So typically people use these to route them like kind of like this, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it here in half and basically stick that pipe in there, and it's going to be kind of straight up. All right, so change of plans. So I got the bottom mocked up pretty good, so it goes up there, then I'll have a coupler there. But I don't know if y'all remember that 45 that I cut that I was going to use right here. We're not going to use that no more. So I ended up using the other part of the U-bend, you know, the U that I cut to make that piece right there. Well, I stuck it up here, and I think it's going to be able to fit up a lot better. I just got to cut it about right here. Trial and error, you guys. I mean, if you're not an expert, I mean, even if you're an expert, you might still have to do this. Change up, you know, go to plan B. And basically, it's gonna be like this. So, see, go straight down. And then down here, I'm just gonna have a coupler. Now it's time to make something from here down into this side of the intercooler. Whoops, almost gave you guys a super close-up, but look at that, I got lucky. That 45 fit perfectly from there down under the sway bar. Perfect. So now I need to get something like a 90 that goes from here to here. So I'm gonna need, and then I'm gonna have to use a coupler right here. Ooh, I think we might be getting lucky. Let's see. The front mount's pretty even. Can't really see the piping anyways. The couplers are black. I think I'm gonna call that a win, you guys. It's gonna work. So in order to make this here, the little bead roll, so the machine for that is super expensive. I think it's like a few $100s just for this. So I got a solution. I'd rather spend $15 than 300 bucks any day. So what you're gonna do is, so you see this little piece here? This is where you're gonna use to make a bead around it. So you're gonna stick this into the pipe. Make sure where the loop goes up is on your outside. And all right, in case you guys were wondering what a completed pipe would look like, it looks just like that. Not bad, right? Looks pretty similar to what you would end up paying to do this. The only difference is just the little ridges, but if you wanted to even get rid of these little ridges, you just basically go over it again. And when you put this in there, you have something to clamp down to and make sure your pipes are gonna blow out when you're under boost. Whew. Like always, working into the night. Gotta sacrifice to get things done. So on the cold side, I got the intake back on. There's that pipe that we talked about. It runs down under the sway bar into that coupler. You got a pipe here and into the intercooler. My OCD kicked in, so I ended up just grinding all that black paint off. So now it's aluminum, just like everything else. So, and then on the other side, it's just the pipe here goes up, one coupler, and straight to the throttle body. That's it, you guys. Let's say I would have bought that piping brand new, like, you know, from Trestone or even eBay, whatever you guys want to get. I could have built that complete kit, the intercooler kit, including the intercooler, for maybe 300 bucks. For 300 bucks, I could buy that intercooler because it's one of those cheap ones. It's not nothing fancy. I think it's like a 4-inch. I could have bought the intercooler, the piping, and some clamps. Oh, and the couplers too. So maybe anywhere from 300 to 350 bucks, you could have built that entire intercooler kit. I mean, it's just being creative and you know, not being scared to put something together for yourself. Obviously, I'm sure you guys are gonna say, oh well, but this is not welded yet, I still gotta pay for welding. Yes, but I mean, they're not gonna charge you much to weld that. They could probably weld that like in 5-10 minutes. You'd probably pay them, I don't know, 20-40 bucks to weld that. Or if you really want to go on the cheap side, buy a coupler, 2 clamps, and just clamp it down. So you have a clamp here and a clamp here. I mean, and that's gonna cost you like 10 bucks. But it's getting dark, you guys, so I'm glad I was able to, well, I mean, not finish it off because I still have to weld that, but you know, I don't want to make y'all wait any more than you have already for an update. But until then, the next thing I'm gonna do the welding on the intercooler pipe, and then as ASAP I'm gonna start working on the exhaust. I'm hoping to get that done within this week or next week. And yeah, and we'll see what happens afterwards. I appreciate you guys. I really appreciate all the support, and like always, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Later.